Okay, this is the meshing tutorial here. This one I had quite a bit of problems with, mostly because the tutorial that I'm using is for an older version of Simvascular, so the menus are totally different. So I really had to kind of play around to get some of the desired results, and a lot of it I just didn't figure out. And it might just be that there's some things that this new version isn't capable of. And then there might be things that it's capable of that the old one wasn't. We're going to get into it here. I'm just loading everything. So what the tutorial wants you to do is I didn't create this group. This is something that you download from Simvascular itself. And this is all the groups of the aorta and all the branches that come off of it in detail, perfectly done. There's the groups. And this is what they want you to use for the meshing tutorial. I had some problems with it though, I think just because it's so complex. Maybe it's my computer can't handle it, or maybe it's the new version of Simvascular. So you're going to want to say use. This is just creating the model of it. So select all the surfaces used in model, polydata, and call it whatever you want. It takes a little while to generate. And it's still going. This was my mistake here. I should have paused the video. But it shows that it's such a complex model that it takes a while to actually, or a complex group that it takes a while to create a model from it. And there it finally goes. So it's a good model. Came out well. So here we are. We're in meshing now. And so in the meshing tab there. So you want to do is select this file that we just created, this model. And so there it goes in the selection for the solid model. So that's the model that's right there that we just created. And so we want to do 0.1 on the max edge size. And so we're going to go run mesh. And then this is the thing that kept happening. I get this not responding, and I would let it run for a good long time. I let it run for an hour at one point, and it just kept crashing. No matter the size I did, no matter what I did, it always crashed or said error, unable to complete. So I had to use my old model that I created in the model guide, as opposed to their complex. So this one here again, error generating mesh when I did 0.1. So if you look, I have 0.1 in the max edge size. So instead I do estimate global edge size, and it goes like around 0.26. I'm not exactly sure what that represents. But when you estimate the global edge size with the model that I created, it seemed to work. So there it is. There's the finished mesh. And I actually have a fix later in the video of how to do it at different sizes. I couldn't do it at all with that complex model that I originally created at the beginning of the video, but with my own kind of simplistic view of just the aorta itself, without any of the branches, I have a fix of how to do different values. And so this is if you wanted to look at just the mesh itself. You get rid of the actors. And so now this was me fooling around trying to get a fix, go to 0.1 after it's already worked. after it's already created a successful mesh. And this one, I believe, ends up failing as well. Yeah, error generating mesh. So that was the fix. It's something to do with wall selection. I'll explain it later. So you're going to want to display the model now. Select the sides that you want. This is just showing we're in the model and you can isolate a side. So this is local mesh refinement. We're just doing a couple sides, or a side. Oh, and then this is just me illustrating that the local mesh refinement menu is completely different. There's just a lot of stuff missing, a lot of just things that I couldn't find, and I think they simplified it from the tutorial. Probably a good thing, but it's just what they're doing in the tutorial is there's just no menu options within this local mesh refinement. So you want to go ahead and type P on the keyboard. That's how you pick a certain side. We're going to try to locally refine that. And we go 0.05 under the local size. And just once again, all of this is missing. So many of those options are not there. So I said add local mesh size. It shows up there down below. And I'm going to add local mesh as well. This is kind of cool if it would have worked. That you can do, so I'm going to do 0.05, or 0.5 actually on this side. So I have 0.05 on the mesh on the top, and then 0.5 on this one, and then on this other cap, I believe I went 0.5 as well. So you can customize the extent of the mesh you want. And then the global edge size, I tried 0.2, because that's what the tutorial recommended, and it failed. Once again, error generating mesh with the size of 0.2. So then I tried with the global edge size, estimating global edge size, sorry, with it, which is the 0.26, and it also failed. So local mesh refinement still a bit of a mystery. A lot of the options on the menu from the tutorial are just simply not there. This is what it's supposed to look like, though. You're supposed to have, see the local mesh refinement is far more refined at that cap there rather than the wall that was next to it. So now we're in boundary layer meshing. So you can't add a boundary layer. There's no button to add boundary layer is what I was trying to illustrate there. So there's boundary layer meshing, and it gives you this edge size, the number of layers, but I couldn't figure out how to add it, which is pretty crucial to this whole boundary layer meshing, is I can't add a boundary layer if there's no add boundary layer option. So what I figured out is you want to say use boundary layer meshing rather than add boundary layer. and you must select the faces. And so I didn't get this at this point. I'll explain it later because it's not explicit in the tutorial, but it's basically there's a select walls option that I was not doing. This is the refinement sphere, so 3 and 0.05. And you can adjust where it is, which is pretty cool. You go into volume properties, and adjust it to, this is the values they gave me in the tutorial. But basically you're gonna like put the center, you're gonna cross all of the views at the branch. So you can see right there in the middle, so that's where this spherical refinement will take place. Unfortunately, this gives you an option to place it in the tutorial, and in our version of Simvascular, it doesn't give me that. There's no way to place it. So it gives me the size, the radius, and the size, but there's no way to place it. So what ends up happening is that the sphere of refinement is completely off when I go to actually do it here. So there it is. I added it. Run the mesh. And I got an error. I fixed it that time. But see, it looks like to me that it was supposed to be at the branch there, but it looks like to me, see, that's where it was supposed to be. It looks like to me it's actually, see, that's what it's supposed to look like there. Because they could place their center. I couldn't place my center. I could put the crosshairs where, or the views where I wanted it. But it looks like something happened in that area, and I think that's where my refinement center actually took place. It was way up there. But just once again, menu difference. Oh, and then here's another, there's no cylindrical refinement option at all. So there's a part of in the tutorial that explains cylindrical refinement. We have a spherical refinement option, but there's nowhere in Simvascular that I could find that had a cylindrical refinement option. And so this is a big thing here. This is how to select walls. Boundary layer meshing. So this is going to be my fix here, because it's the fix for how to create meshes for other than just the estimated global size edge. That's what it ends up being, but in this case it's just doing a boundary layer surf. So I'm just doing the walls here, the wall of the aorta. So I transfer them over. Okay. So those are my two walls that are selected. At 0.5 and 4 layers, 0.6 layer decreasing ratio. And then we're going to run the mesh internally, and then this is this is the boundary layer, so just my surfaces, and it came out good. So that was just the two walls, meshing just the two walls. make sure that boundary layer meshing is selected, which is different than the tutorial where you add the boundary layer. So here I changed it. This is the global edge size. As opposed to estimating it, we did 0.15. And we're going to add this local mesh 0.5. Sorry, 0.1. I did that wrong, and we wanted the wall. Both walls we're adding different meshes to. So 0.1 versus I think I did like 0.17 or something, just to show that you can make a different mesh size. So we're going to run this. This is without the estimated global edge size, and it works because I had the walls selected. So as you can see, that right wall appears much smoother, and the space between the mesh. So yeah, the space between the mesh was much smaller on the 0.17 right wall as opposed to the wall of the aorta and left branch there. Anyway, this is text gen, so you select text gen here, and this is a sphere refinement with the use of text gen. You want to go 3 and 0.05. This is kind of nice because you can visualize the sphere itself and move it around, move it back and forth, show it, don't show it. Problem, it seems to be a default sphere radius. You can't alter it, so I tried to make it 3. I couldn't. Tried to make it 2. I couldn't. So it seemed to be kind of stuck there. That's nice. You can visualize where you're putting it exactly. So that's right in the middle of the branch. And I'm not exactly sure what the difference is between this and what we were doing earlier, as opposed to the obvious visualization difference. But it's with the use of, in the text gen menu selected. You add the sphere refinement, it gives you those coordinates, which is nice because you can visualize it. You go run mesh, we have 0.3, and it did, it worked. I'm gonna get rid of the red actor there so you can see the mesh itself. I went with 0.3, so the gaps are a little bigger within the mesh itself. But as you can see, inside that sphere, there's a distinctive difference from the rest of the mesh. So the sphere, you can see the gaps in between it are much bigger in that refinement sphere as opposed to the rest of the aorta, which is pretty nice. So the text gen refinement sphere seems to be a better tool than just the regular refinement sphere. And this is radius-based meshing, starting here. So what your goal here to do is get it to be all one wall, and everything scaled really big, or really different sizes. So it's good to put everything together into one surface. So what I'm going to do is create a new surface. I'm copying the model that we have now, creating a copy of it, using just the walls that I wanted. So I'm saving it because I don't want to compromise my model that I've been using for all of these tutorials. I want to keep that model, so I'm making a new one here so that I can manipulate and save. And we're going to go ahead and load that into our meshing. And see, there's just one wall now. There's just wall aorta. And so this is still showing wall of aorta and wall of right aorta. We refresh this here. It's going to just show. So what I figured out is if you get rid of them, and you select wall, see it's just wall of aorta now. So there's just one wall. That's what you need. That's what's important for this radius-based meshing. We're going to use 0.15 on the global edge size. Going to go into advanced meshing here. Use the centerline radius should be selected. And then we're going to go ahead and try and run it here. And this was, I think, the correct way to do it. I'm not sure why it was off, but it was. I was kind of at a loss at that point, but I combined it into one surface and did everything I had been doing to that point that was working. But big message of this tutorial, it's very different. The tutorial is very different than the online tutorial that I was going from. The menus are very different, and the select walls thing is a big help. Make sure you're using the select walls and know which walls you're working with, because there'll be less errors.